So welcome. We're back for our second annual Once Upon a Readathon. I can't believe we're here. We're so excited. Thanks to everyone who participated last year. We were able to distribute 453,000 books. So we're so excited to be doing this again this year. Our goal is $100,000 for this year, and we're happy to announce that we've started this event already having reached $50,000 over our goal. So, but we need your help. We definitely need your help. So how can you get involved? You can join as a fundraiser today. You can create a page or a team page, invite your friends to join us in fundraising. You could also participate and promote reading. Our goal is to have people reading for 30 minutes a day for the month of May, promoting literacy, promoting reading. It's so important. And or you can watch like you're doing today, which is also great because we have some amazing lineup of authors for us to participate this year. For more info and how to get involved, we're going to post the link to the fundraising platform and the calendar of events in this comment section for you to check out and join in if you are able to do so. We're super excited to have David A. Adler here back again as our first guest reader. We're so excited. He was here last year and he was gracious enough to come back again this year. So we're excited about that. David is the author of 275 books for young readers, including the Cam Jansen series and the Mo Jackson sports books for beginning readers. He's also done the entire picture book of biography series, as well as numerous other fiction and nonfiction books. Welcome back, David. We're excited to have you here.
Thank you. When you say here, I'm sitting in my office, but I know what you mean.
Back with us.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So you're going to be reading from Don't Throw to Mo today, right?
Right. It's the first book in the Mo Jackson sports series. And I actually wrote it with my eldest grandson in mind because he loved sport. He loved it then, and he still loves sports. So when he started to read, I thought, let me get him a book that not only will he be able to read, but he'll want to read because it's about something he's interested in.
That's
So
what we talk, right?
What's that?
I was going to say, we always talk about it has to be high interest because you can give a kid a book, but if they're not interested in it, right?
Then it's just work. It's homework.
Yeah, yeah.
So I looked for easy to read sports books. And the only one I found for him, now I could have missed some, came out in 1962. So that's when I wrote this book.
Wow.
And it led to others. It's a whole series now.
Yes.
But what I've learned as a writer is the most important thing you do in fiction is begin by creating an interesting character. So hopefully that's Mo Jackson. And this is the first book.
That's awesome.
To all the others, yeah.
So many good books. Your books they transcend time, I think, and kids just want to read them over and over again. So I'm gonna close my video. I'm gonna let you do your read. I will pop back in and we'll do some question and answers from some of the kids when you're done reading. All right. Thanks.
Okay, the name of the book is Don't Throw It to Mo. It's a football story. And I'd like you to see the pictures as I read. So let me see if I can do this. I'll have one copy for me to read from and one copy for you to look at. But I don't have a page turner, so I'll do both. Mo Jackson loves football. When it's time to wake up, his mother calls out, "It's a long throw." Mo wakes up. His mother tosses a football. Mo jumps out of bed to catch it. "Now that you're up," his mother says, "get ready for school." Tricky mother. Mo is on the Robins, a football team. They practice after school. Mo is smaller than the other players. He's younger. Mostly he doesn't play. He sits on the bench with Coach Steve. Sometimes Coach Steve spreads butter on a football. You need to practice holding on to the ball even if it's slippery. The Robins are playing the Jays. The Jays see Mo and say, he's too small to play. Coach Steve tosses Mo a football. Mo drops it. The Jays laugh. He's small and he's a Butterfingers. They are right. The ball he dropped was Coach Steve's buttered football. Mo sits on the bench. He watches the game. The game is almost over. The Robins are losing. Wash your hands, Coach Steve tells Mo. Get the butter off. You're going in. Coach Steve tells the Robins, I'm putting Mo in. Mo will go deep, but don't throw to Mo. The play starts. Mo runs way out. A Jay runs with him. No one would throw to a small Butterfingers, he tells Mo. He's right. No one throws to Mo. It's time for the next play. Mo will go deep, Coach Steve tells the team again, but don't throw to Mo. The play starts. The same Jay runs with Mo. Then he stops. I'll wait here, he tells Mo. No one would throw to a small Butterfingers. He's right. No one throws to Mo. This is the last play of the game, Coach Steve tells the team. Mo will go deep, he says. This time, throw to Mo. The play starts. The J player runs with Mo. Then he stops, but Mo keeps running. A Robin throws the ball high over Mo's head. He won't get it, the Jays say. He's too small. But Mo does get to the ball. He won't catch it, the Jays say. He's a Butterfingers. But Mo catches it. He runs with the ball past the goal line. The Robins win. They cheer. Coach Steve says, Mo says, your plan won the game. No, it didn't, the coach says. You won the game. You are the one who caught the ball. That's Don't Throw It to Mo. And if you look at the other Mo books, Run, Mo, Run, he doesn't win because he's the fastest. He wins because he tries the hardest. Pass the ball, Mo. The basketball story. Kick it, Mo. Swim, Mo, swim. All with the same character. Now, are there questions?
I'm back. So let's see. I think we have some questions. I know we have some people that are saying hello to you. They're excited to be a part of it.
Hello.
Hello.
Wipe your feet. This office has clean carpet.
Let's see. When you wrote Cam Jansen and the Mystery of the Stolen Diamonds, did you know this would be the start of almost 50 more books with Cam?
I had no idea.
No idea.
And what's interesting to me about the Cams is she opened the door to me to lots of other publishers because they saw those books and kids liked them and they asked me to do more. And that really, I mean, it wasn't my first book, but it really started things rolling finally.
One of the attendees wants to know, what was the first book you wrote?
The first book I wrote is called A Little at a Time. It came out in 1976 with Random House. It came out again, redone with Holiday House. I think about 10 years ago, the new edition.
It's awesome. We have Kim at PS 123Q. Thank you for coming and attending PS 123Q. What made you start writing all of these stories?
I was a math teacher, Kim. That's the thing with numbers. And I have a nephew. I mean, he was 3 years old then. Now he's in his 50s. He was a sweet boy, still is, asked loads and loads of questions. And if you see a little at a time, it's an interaction with the boy and his grandfather. The boy keeps asking questions. The grandfather answers them. And the end of each answer is always the name of the book, A Little at a Time.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Miss Massaria's class and PS 21. Hello, PS 21. They're in the Bronx. Alexis from her class wants to know, are you writing any new books?
Yes.
Can you tell us about it?
One, I'm writing a book about a boy is telling the story. His grandfather moved into their house because he needed to be taken care of. He's elderly. And the interaction between the grandfather, grandson, and the mother, who's in between them generationally. And, which is really taken from my own life because my mother-in-law now lives with us. She's over 100.
Oh,
So a lot of the things that, I mean, it's not nonfiction, it's fiction, but a lot of the ideas and the interactions come from that.
wow. And God bless, over
But by
100.
the way, if anyone wants to hear the book a little at a time, if they email me, I can give them a read aloud that I did with two of my grandsons.
Okay.
So they just email me and I'll give them the link and they can watch
Okay.
it
We'll give
whenever they
them, we'll
want.
put your email. You want us to give them the email you gave us? We'll put that in the chat.
The CAMJ one, yeah.
Okay. All right. If we'll have Kellyanne put that in the chat. And then Christina Sang wants to know, what were you inspired from?
Well, my nephew, he
Oh,
inspired me
that's
for the
right.
first book, and then each
Mhm.
book has its own inspiration. Then
Okay.
once I was writing, then I have to get ideas from different places.
And so many, Elizabeth Facina and Carolyn wanted to know, they both kind of asked the same question. Where did you get the idea for Cam Jansen from?
Okay, for the character, there are two different really answers to the question. The idea for the character came from a classmate of mine when I was in elementary school, who was said to have a photographic memory. The story, the first story, the idea, which is Stolen Diamonds, the idea came to me because I was then caring for my eldest son.
Mhm.
I stayed at home. My wife
Yes.
continued working, and things that happened. That's where the idea for the mystery itself. So there are two different answers. One is where I get the idea for the character, and then I also needed a story.
Right. So it was interesting when I first read. For some reason, when I picked up the books first, I thought Cam was going to be a boy. I don't know why.
Okay, now here's something you did not actually ask. The first Cam Jansen, when I wrote it, was a boy.
Oh,
But the publisher was putting out another series, and they had never done series like there were books that were conceived as series. They had
okay.
sequels, but they weren't set out to be a series. And they were starting with one called Einstein Anderson by a friend of mine, Seymour Simon. He's a friend of mine now, then I didn't
Mhm.
know him. And that was about a boy. They wanted me to make mine a girl to make it different, more different from Seymour's books.
Okay.
So I changed Cam, who wasn't called Cam then, from a boy to a girl. The character's name was Kodak Barris, nicknamed Kodak after the famous camera company.
Okay.
But I asked Kodak permission to use their name as the nickname for my character,
Mhm.
and they refused permission.
Hmm.
That's their problem.
I was
Because
just going to
Kodak is
say.
gone and Cam is still going strong.
Exactly. That's great. And then Grace Ryan wants to know, what is your favorite book you wrote and why?
Okay, I can't answer that because I've written to so many different kinds of books. How do I compare a Cam Jansen to a Kodak Barris to a picture book biography to, I mean, I did economics books and math books and science books. So it's hard to pick one. One of my favorites is a book called The Babe and I.
Mhm.
Uh, Another, I have a bunch of favorites. I could go on and on. But
It's kind of like saying who's your favorite child.
well, I could answer. I can't. I'm not kidding.
I'm only
Yeah.
kidding you. Carolyn wanted to know, how long have you been writing?
Okay, my first book was published in 1975. Now I know I told you 1976, but the first book I wrote and sold came out third because of delays in the publishing process. So at 25 and 21 gives you 46 years. So I've been published for 46 years now.
That's awesome. Jackie Capabianco wanted to know, did you ever imagine that your books would become so well loved and famous?
No, I'm not sure they are, but thank you for saying that. But I
They
didn't
def-
imagine it.
they
When I
definitely
moved
are.
into where I live now, and we've lived in the same house for over 40 years, somebody said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm a writer. Can I see one of your books?" So I was a little bit of a wise guy. I showed him one of my books. It was one that was translated. So it was one that was translated into Dutch, which has the same alphabet. So until you actually try to read it, it looks like English. And he was so impressed that I wrote in Dutch, but I don't. I don't even speak Dutch. So that was always a thrill to me to get books in different languages that I initiated. I didn't really write them because someone translated them. But I have a whole shelf of Japanese, Korean, Spanish,
It's got to be
Swedish,
an
Danish.
amazing
Yeah,
feeling. It's got to be an amazing feeling.
yeah.
Um, Josias from PS 123Q, does your grandson like any other sports that you have written about?
Well, unfortunately for me, the only sport I follow is baseball. My grandsons follow every sport. So they don't have I have a season, baseball season, and then I'm off. They have to follow football and basketball and hockey, and they joined all different kinds of little league teams, soccer. They're on no one on soccer teams now, but they've been on soccer teams. They play all kinds of sports.
That's
And
great.
I learned the enthusiasm that Mo displays from my grandchildren.
Oh, that's great. You just taking from life and putting it into
Just
words.
change
I
the
love it.
names and exaggerate. There you
Yep.
go.
Carolyn Matthews wants to know, on average, about how long does it take to write a book?
Okay, that's a difficult question to answer. The longest I ever spent working on a book that has been published is 11 years. That was the book, The Babe and I. Doesn't mean I was working on it every day for 11 years, but I kept coming back to it and rewriting it and rewriting it and rewriting it. And that's one of my favorite books. The shortest I ever spent working on a book that was published was 4 days. And that was a science book, and it's not my favorite, but it was a science book. So it varies. It really varies a lot.
That's a big gamut. 4 days to 11 years. That's pretty
Right.
big.
So say, what's the average? Well, the average would then be 5.5 years.
Okay.
But that's not how long,
Yeah.
Cam Jansen, when you think about it, when I'm writing a new Cam Jansen, I already know the character. I already know the style of writing, the voice of the book. So what's missing? Just the story.
Right.
So for my head, the book is 2/3 written before I start. Well, the character is extremely important.
Yeah.
And the voice is extremely important. Now I just need the story.
You have a good formula, I'll tell you that. That's
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Someone wanted to know, what other authors do you read to your grandson? That's a good question.
Well, they don't live in my house, so I don't read to them unless they ask me to read something when I visit. I read to my children. I used to like Mira Ginsburg. Trying to remember I think I read some Dr. Seuss to them. I like Joanna Hurwitz's books. Who else did I like? There's a Party at Mona's Tonight was one of our favorites. Rabbit Finds a Way. I remember Harry the Dirty Dog series by Zion.
Oh, yeah.
I guess the same books that everybody reads.
Like every other parent,
Oh,
right?
Bernard
Grandparent.
Raber. Bernard
I'm sorry.
Raber's books, Lyle Crocodile.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. He passed away a few years ago, but he was a good friend of mine. He lived, I don't know, maybe 10 miles from here. From me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's Illy wants to know, do you like writing nonfiction or fiction better?
Yes.
Is that an
I
answer?
like writing fiction and nonfiction. Each is a break from the other. And my favorite genre is historical fiction, which is a blending of the two.
Okay. Okay. Um, someone, Christina saying again, wants to know, does Mo like sports a lot? Clearly.
Yes, yes.
Um,
My problem is the editor wants each book to be about a different sport. So I did football. She doesn't want football again. So I'm running low on sports.
did you do lacrosse yet?
No, I've tried. I started to research that, but now I'm doing one on hockey. So
Okay, that's a good one.
yeah,
That's a good one. And so what I found interesting was that in your bio, you're one of six kids,
yes.
and you used to read and entertain to your kid, to your
My
siblings.
sisters, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the second. So from top to bottom is 13 years. So my youngest sister, the youngest in the family, is 10 years younger than me because I have an older brother. That's with a difference
Right.
between 13 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
And at night, I would read to them or make up stories uh, because my mother wasn't reading stories anymore. I don't remember she ever read to me, but she wasn't reading to them anymore. The house got busy, and you know, I'd read to my sisters.
So they were really the inspiration to it. I'm actually the youngest of nine, and so
Oh
by the
wow!
time by the time I got here, reading wasn't something that we didn't. My parents didn't have time, so
Good.
you were on your own. So that's why I love this mission, because I can't imagine. There's different ways why people don't have access to books, but I feel like at least having a book is part of it. It's getting them in their hands, and that's why I'm grateful to you for being here, because every child deserves to have access to books, and all these wonderful children that are here. That's what we're here for, because we want to be able to get every child to be able to want to read, have access to read, and get them reading, because literacy is so important to read. So Tana and Kim from class 2-2 at PS 123Q. What is the next picture biography book you will be writing?
The latest I have that came out last year is Alexander Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not working on a picture book biography at the moment. Um, what happened was when I started writing those books, there weren't any strictly nonfiction biographies for third graders or second, third, fourth graders. And I started with Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Martin Luther King Jr. But now we're Daniel Boone, there wasn't as much interest. And a lot of other publishers started doing what I was doing.
Yes.
So the demand is not as great. Because those first ones, it was like teachers and libraries were thirsty for that kind of a book.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why nobody realized it. But I, as a child, when I was in elementary school, I read a book series called Childhoods of Famous Americans, put out by Bobbs Merrill. They have no right to be in the nonfiction section of the library because it's loaded with made up dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, I asked my mother, how did the author know what George Washington's mother said to him? I knew there were no tape recorders in George Washington's time. So my mother said that part was probably made up. That was the end of it for me. I didn't read any more in the series
Oh,
because I
wow.
thought it was nonfiction. Turns
Oh,
out it was
wow.
historical fiction.
Okay.
So when one of my boys, I have three sons, one of my boys had to write a book report on a biography. I went to the library and I didn't find anything. I think it was third or fourth grade. Everything was historical fiction. I mean, it was shelved as nonfiction, but it wasn't nonfiction. And I realized there was a need. And that's what started that series. And everybody piled in after the picture book biography series began. And they saw how well it was doing.
Wow. So you're starting trends too. So
Well, Cam
you,
Jansen also. They
yeah.
didn't have easy to read I call them transition readers. They now
Mhm.
call them first chapter books. They're really, I mean, you could name isolated titles, but it wasn't a recognized genre at the time. That's why I had so much trouble getting it published because editors looked at it and said, "What is this?"
Right. But there was a hole and you saw it and you filled it. So
Filled
that's
it, yeah,
great.
yeah.
That's great. Janine Scarlato said maybe you could write about a triathlon. You could foster an early introduction to that type of sport. Start another trend.
That's a good idea. Okay.
Carolyn Matthews said, we love The Babe and I, and we'll be reading it in class soon. That's awesome. So Carolyn Matthews' class will be reading The Babe and I. That's great. Somebody else wrote, how
What
about,
grade is that?
I'm sorry?
What grade is that that's going to read The Babe and I?
I'm not sure what grade Carolyn Matthews is in. I'm thinking second, but I'm not sure.
Okay,
Carolyn
that's historical
Matthews.
fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read on the copyright page, you'll see that which parts are actually true. And that could start a discussion of the Great Depression.
Oh,
It takes
that's
place in
great.
1932, that story. And
There you go.
when I wrote it, I had the newspapers of the time in front of me. So a lot of that is in there is uh, um, history, accurate,
Hmm.
and a lot of it isn't. I
Okay, so
took a person's life and put it on top of what was going on.
that's great. So she's fourth grade. So that is
Well,
really,
good, that's appropriate. Yes.
yeah, she said we'll be starting historical fiction units. So that's perfect timing.
There you go.
Thank you, Carolyn, for participating today and for allowing David to be a part of your class. I think it's important for them to see and hear from the author that's penned so many amazing books. How about a biography on Marley Dias or other young people in the US making a difference?
The problem with me writing biographies about current people is
Oh,
it takes so long from the time I've written it until it's actually published. A simpler example, when I was writing sports biographies, which I did for in a different, not the same series, people said, "Why don't you write a biography of Don Mattingly, my son's favorite baseball player?" By the time it would come out, they'd say, "Don who? We don't even know who he is anymore." He's a manager now of a baseball team.
love
But
Don.
you want to get somebody who has been around for a while, and all my sports biographies, they transcend the sport.
Mm-hmm.
The first one I wrote was a biography of Lou Gehrig, and my
Mm-hmm.
editor said, "Who do you want to write about?" I said, "Lou Gehrig." She said, this editor had no interest in baseball. I said, "It won't be a baseball story. It will be about a baseball player, but it'll be about courage most of all." And the same thing with the biography of Roy Campanella. The biography of Joe Louis was about prejudice. The biography of Gertrude Ederle, actually also about prejudice. She was the first woman to swim in the English Channel. And people said she couldn't do it, not because she wasn't a good swimmer, because she was
Because
a
she was a
woman.
woman.
Yeah. So each one of them has a story that goes beyond their accomplishment.
There's lessons beyond the story that you're reading, and hopefully people are learning and
Right,
getting something out of it beyond learning how to read. That hopefully they're learning something about themselves or situations that people are in.
right.
So I think I have two more questions. Tahana from PS21 said, "How old were you when you had your first book published?"
When it was published, I think I was 28. I wrote my first book when I was 24, but until
Okay,
it got published, I was 28. Yeah.
right. So it took some time. So that's interesting. You
It's
kept
time for
plodding
them
away.
to actually get the illustrator, get it,
Yeah, yeah, it's a process, especially the first one out of the gate. It takes a while.
right. Yeah.
And then the last question was, have you ever written a book based on your own personal experience?
All the time.
The
When
characters are all around you, right?
well, no, I'm often, I did a book called Don't Talk to Me About the War. I worked on that book for 7 years and I didn't realize it. But one of my brothers and a friend read the manuscript before it became a book and said, "David, you're Tommy Duncan," and I wasn't aware of it. So
Wow.
and if you read the Cam Jansens, This I can tell you directly. I'm Eric Shelton, Cam's best friend. So
Wow.
when something in the early books, when something happened, and I said, what's Eric going to do? How's he going to react? How would I know? It's all made up. Eric's not a real person. I always ask myself, how would I react? And I was and am Eric Shelton.
Oh, so
And that
that's
makes the
awesome.
characters seem real to me and then real to the readers because it makes sense for the character. If I just randomly decide he'll do this, he'll do that, you look and say, I don't know this kid. It doesn't make any sense, but now it makes sense.
So now you just told all of our schools and classes that are listening a little secret that you are Eric. So
I
that's
am
great.
Eric. That's right.
Yeah, that's great. We're so excited. Listen, it's the kickoff for our readathon for 2021. You're our first author and you're back again. We hope you'll come back next year. You're a great asset to us and we're so grateful. I want to thank all of the schools that came in today. I know there was PS 21 and PS, I'm looking at them all. If I can get some of them in, I want to thank them again. I can't even find them. PS 123Q is in the house. So we want to thank you all. We hope you'll come back for the next readings. We have a whole calendar of events for the month. And we would not be here if it wasn't for our sponsors. And that's Marlon Security, that's PC Richard, that's Serini and Associates, Investors Bank, and they're our top sponsors for this event. And we want to thank them for allowing us to continue to give books to the kids, such as those that are on this webinar, and deserve it and deserve to books. Reading is essential and it starts with the book. Thank you all so much. Thank you, David, and we'll see you next
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks.